evening, Northern Colorado. This is Ron, K0AZA. I'm located in Fort Collins, and I'll be net control for tonight's NCARC TechNet. The purpose of the TechNet is to enlighten amateur radio operators. You know what? Let's bag this for tonight since we're running late. I think everyone here probably knows the routine. Let's go ahead and go to, well, first off, is there any emergency or priority traffic? Hearing none, if you need to use the system for an emergency during the net, say break and give your call sign. We'll acknowledge you and suspend the net until you advise that you're clear. All licensed amateur radio operators with 70-centimeter privileges are encouraged to check into the net. NCARC club membership is encouraged but never required for participation. Check-ins are requested for the purpose of counting participation, and no check-out is required. This is K0AZA net control for tonight's NCARC TechNet. Let me do a reset. When checking in, please give your call sign slowly, first alphabetically, then again using the ITU phonetic alphabet, along with your name and location, and let me know if you have a topic that you want to cover tonight. Let's start first with anyone on Echolink. Anyone on Echolink, please check in now. Okay, let's start by taking check-in from call suffixes alpha through Mike. I'll do it in groups of 3 and acknowledge after every group of 3. Alpha through Mike, please call now.
Kilo 0 Mike Lima Golf, K0 MLG, Marty Mobile, Fort Collins.
KF0 GQI, Doc and Pierce, Kilo Foxtrot, Golf, Quebec, India.
And 0EMP, Greg in Fort Collins with Debbie, K0DBE.
Okay, let's hold up there. The net acknowledges K0MLG, KF0GQI, and 0EMP, and K0DBE. Next group of 3, call now.
A1DEG, WA7EM Whiskey Alpha 7 Echo Mike, Ed with the topic.
KF0 ODD, Paul from Berthoud.
Okay, let's hold up there. That acknowledges K1DEG. Good to hear from you, Mike. WA, I think it's 2EM, Ed, and KF0 ODD. Next group of 3, go ahead.
W0 LEI, Whiskey 0 Lima Echo India, Chad and Stout.
W0 KJM, Whiskey 0 Kilo Juliet Mike, Kyle, Fort Collins.
AE0CF, Alpha Echo 0 Charlie Foxtrot, Ben, Fort Collins.
WW8L, Whiskey 8 Lima, Tim, Watson Lake.
Okay, the net acknowledges W0LEI, W0KJM, AE0CF, and WWAL. Next group of 3, go now.
KA2AUZ, Kilo Alpha 2 Alpha, United Zulu, Paul and Milliken.
Alpha Echo 0 Kilo Oscar, AE0KO, Brandon, Fort Collins.
N0BNK, November 0, Bravo, November Kilo, Rick, Laporte.
The net acknowledges KA2AUZ, AE0KO, and N0BNK. Let's go ahead and open it up to everybody. Alpha through Zulu, please call in now in groups of 3.
This is N0 NYY, November 0, November Yankee Yankee, Bart Inevitz with an announcement, and N0 QXQ, November 0, Quebec, X-Ray, Quebec. Gene, with no announcements.
This is K5SGC, Kilo 5, Sierra, Golf Charlie. Dave in Fort Collins.
Sure. Eric, Pine Woodley. Eric, you doubled and I forgot your call sign. Could you give it to me again, please?
KB0YDN, Kilo Bravo 0, Yankee Delta November.
Thanks. I should have that committed to memory by now, but I don't. The net acknowledges N0NYY, N0QXQ, K5SGC, and KB0YDN. Next group of 3, please go now.
KG6OBC, Kilo Golf 6, Oscar Bravo Charlie, Justin, Mobile, Severance.
Whiskey Niner Bravo Papa Zulu, Whiskey Niner Bravo Papa Zulu, Don in Fort Collins.
Whiskey Baker 0, Quebec Golf Lima, WB0QGL, Jeff in Greeley.
The net acknowledges KG6OBC, W9BPZ, and WB0QGL. Next group of 3, go now.
W5VV, Whiskey 5, Victor Victor, Bill, Livermore.
Whiskey 0 Delta Papa Charlie. Also Peggy at KF0LQZ in Longmont.
Okay, the net acknowledges W5 Victor Victor, W0DPC, and KF0LQZ. Anyone else, please call now.
Kilo Foxtrot 0, Papa Echo Golf, Mike in Timnath.
Well, last station I got a carrier and no audio. Can you try that one more time, please? Station calling, we're getting carrier but no audio. If you can check your mic connection possibly. Yeah, still no audio. Let's go ahead and move on, and if you can get that sorted out and check in later, that'll be fine. The net acknowledges KF0PEG. Anyone else? So let's kind of make this a last check before we get into the net, and we can always take late check-ins later. Hearing.
Negative. I did not. I think N0NYY did. I don't know who else.
I guess I just wanted to put a star next to your name. Okay, WA2EM, I'm going to jump over you for a second and jump down to N0NYY, who I believe had an announcement. Bart, go ahead.
Roger. Thank you, Ron. This coming Wednesday is the Loveland Ham Radio Luncheon. Started many years ago, I think, by Mike, KF0CB, now a silent key, badly missed. Picked up shortly after by Mark Clark, or he was at least a strong proponent of it, W2MIC, also a silent key. However, we continue to be hams, we continue to be hungry, so we continue to gather for lunch. This coming Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. at Perkins in Loveland. That address is 2222 West Eisenhower, which is, of course, Highway 34, for those of you that may not know. It's also probably the tallest flagpole in Loveland. It's real easy to spot. Typically starting about 11:30, we normally have the back meeting room, and you do not have to be a club member. You do not have to be a ham. All are welcome. If you're curious about ham radio, show up, learn stuff, no problem. Let's see, it's not really a club lunch. It just there happens to be a lot of guys that are on this repeater a lot that show up there for lunch. All are welcome. Also, it is now another outstanding opportunity to answer questions, to ask questions and get answers to questions. And for some of you, to answer questions. We have, on numerous occasions, taken a poll and found out that there are usually several hundred years worth of radio experience present at that luncheon. So if you got questions, somebody either has answers or knows where to get them. All are welcome. 11:30 Wednesday, 2222 West Eisenhower. N0NYY back to net. Thank you.
Thank you, Bart. And Ed, I think I may have written your call sign down. I have WA2EM. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's close. WA7EM.
They didn't tell me that reading your own handwriting is a requirement for running the net. Anyway, Ed, you had a topic for us tonight?
Yeah, thank you. WA7EM, Ed in Erie. I got interested in putting up a 75-meter Nevis antenna, a dipole to be specific, on my little tiny backyard in my HOA neighborhood. Total available space side to side of my yard was 73 feet. And I found a guy who would build a 50-some foot long Nevis 75-meter antenna using a pair of 68 microhenry coils. I had a pair of 77 microhenry coils, seemed close enough. Being lazy, I put them at the end of my 60-foot run of wire, and they acted like they weren't there. They did not exhibit the right behavior. Being also lazy, I tried putting them in right at the center of the dipole, and they acted differently, but also not at all correctly. When I put them in the middle of the wire, they worked as you'd expect, and I could tune the antenna, and the antenna works. So, anybody have an explanation why end loading or center loading on a dipole, or at least this particular instance of a dipole, doesn't work? Center loading does. WA7EM.
W0LED.
Hi, Dave. I'll check you in, and you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks. Number one question, are you using the same inductor for center and end loading?
Yes, the same inductors for all three cases, end loading, center loading, and middle loading.
Okay, as you move out from a feed point on a dipole or a monopole above an image plane, adding inductance, it requires much more inductance, or more and more inductance as you move out toward the high impedance end, that is the far end of the wire. The same coil, same inductance is not appropriate for feed point, center loading, or end loading. You have to use different values of inductors. W0LED. Yeah.
Anybody else have any other input for Ed?
Yeah. Can I add a footnote to what I just said?
Of course.
Yeah, W0LED. The reason for that is at the feed point, as we know, center-fed dipole, half-wave dipole, is a relatively low impedance. Nominally at amateur, average amateur heights, it's around 50 ohms. Free space, it's 73 ohms. As you move out, you go from inductive to capacitive impedance on each wire of the dipole. And capacitance, of course, is high impedance, not in the high current realm where the feed point is, but out in the high voltage end where the wire terminates. Therefore, in the capacitance realm, you require a lot more inductance to drop the frequency of the dipole than you do at the center or at the feed point. W0LED.
WA7EM.
Go ahead, Ed.
Thank you. Well, apparently that's the case, but it was radically different. You know, I wouldn't dispute that double the size or quarter the size or some different size inductance, but when put at the far ends, it acted like it wasn't there. You know, that having it there or not there made no difference to the behavior of the antenna. With and putting it at the center, the antenna analyzer showed it was resonant at 1.2 megahertz or some really low number. So I was just surprised that it was so radically different, WA7EM.
That's quite understandable. It is not a linear function. And if you place the inductor at the very end, there's nothing beyond that inductor to force current through the inductor. Therefore, it's not there. You need to have something on the other end of the inductor to force current through the inductor so it's recognized by the fields.
Well, I'll admit that I'm really weak on antenna physics. If you look in the ARL handbook and, not handbook, but the antenna book, and they're not at all lengthy or explicit or clarifying any of this, so they leave it to your imagination. Anyhow, thank you, WA7EM.
Yeah, I'll give you a good reference. Don't use the application-specific books because they don't go into enough depth to understand what's going on. ARRL has a wonderful publication. I've only spent, on email today, I've only recommended it 3 times to various groups I subscribe to, and evidently there is a Kindle version, but I personally like hard copies. Antenna Physics, an Introduction. And it's in their bookstore. Their search engine for their bookstore is pretty lame, and you'll have to just go through everything to find it. But that book is golden. There's a little math in it, but it's nothing challenging. Nothing like the other references I have. But that's an excellent book to start learning a bit of antenna theory. Again, Antenna Physics, an Introduction. W0LED.
Thanks for that information, Dave. Anybody else with any information on this topic before we move on? This is K0AZA, Net Control for the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club Weekly TechNet. First off, are there any late check-ins? Hearing none. I don't have anybody else noted that had a question. Are there any other questions, comments, or other discussion? Hearing none, this concludes the NCARC TechNet. Net Control would like to thank each station for their participation. We had a total of 27 check-ins tonight. This net will occur again next Monday at the same time on this repeater. This is K0AZA closing the net at 1834 and returning the repeater to normal operation. 73, and good night, everyone.
This presentation was brought to you by the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. For more information, visit our website, ncarc.net. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.